This podcast episode is brought to you by The Cry Lounge. The Cry Lounge is an independent publishing company founded by this podcast's hosts, Bonnie Orbison. The Cry Lounge transfers your daydreams onto paper. With 2 book releases the past 2 years, they are preparing to extend their service to other authors and other creatives. To get more details and support this show, there's a link in the description you can check out. The Cry Lounge looks forward to meeting you. Hello everyone to a new season of Bonnie's Legends. I can't believe I'm doing this now for the 3rd time. But, you know, there are always people out there who are my legends, who will be my legends forever and forever, and who are so legendary that I just have to interview them and give them a voice with this podcast. So yeah, in today's episode, we have Monisha M, because she interviewed me about my identity as an author, as a writer, and I absolutely adored talking to her. I absolutely adored how the interview turned out to be, and I was like, you know, I just fucking interview her. Yeah, we became friends. We chatted. We chatting almost weekly, sometimes daily, about writing stuff, and it feels really good having a writing buddy around you, like Monisha. And I also thank you, Monisha, for being here and kind of figuring out the end of my working process with me. Yeah, I absolutely adore talking to her, and yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. It turned out pretty vibey, and I really love how it turned out to be, the interview. And yeah, if you want to know more about the book I'm talking about mostly in the episode, Follow Me is out now, and you can order it on my website. I'd really appreciate if you would check it out. And yeah, also, if you can't get enough of this 45 minutes of Monisha and me, we made 10 bonus questions. There's also a link in the description. You can click on it and you will find my Patreon, where you find the 10 bonus questions. Yeah, where I spoil a lot about my working process at the moment. So yeah, better check it out. And otherwise, have fun listening to this wonderful episode with my best friend, Monisha M. Ladies and gentlemen, Monisha M.
Hey. Hi. Say hi.
Okay. So I asked you for this podcast episode. Like, you texted, I mean, basically, I told you that already in these voice messages that you sent me. Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted, like, I had this episode of Mel. Like, this was one of the last episodes I've recorded for season 2. And I really liked it, especially when I kind of edited it now. I was like, damn, I like this episode so much, because, you know, like, 2 writers at one place, like, It's just vibing.
It was a great
And
episode.
thank you. Yeah, that's basically why I wanted to have you. And you asked me, like, you interviewed me, and I was like, I want to interview
It's hard.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know, it's like I like every guest I had was so curious about my own life. Like they asked me mostly questions about me at the end of the episode. And
Hmm.
you have this curiousness, like you interviewing somebody and you're like, damn, I want to interview them as well. Like
Yeah, of course.
yeah, so that's basically how we met.
Yeah.
Like for this article you wrote about writers and
I
the
was
weight
writing
on
about writers,
writers.
yeah.
Is that how we met, or did we follow each other longer, but just in
I mean,
text?
I think you or me, I don't know, somebody followed someone on Instagram. And then
Yeah,
at some point, I put out the poll looking for people to interview for that article, and you responded, which I'm very
yes.
appreciative for, by the way, because very few people responded.
Yes, you told me that. Like, was it just the three you kind of
Yeah,
put in? Oh,
it's
wow.
just three people,
Ah, it's
all
crazy.
girls too, men.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Do you know a lot of men who are writing? Or boys?
There are not a lot of, at least not on Instagram. I have a few friends that are like guys in real life that are
Mm-hmm.
writers, but I know very few writers on Instagram that are dudes.
Yeah. Like
And
that was actually crazy because, I see here and on Instagram the writers community and most of them are all women, like female. And then because at the moment we're doing high school like a yearbook just in a different form. And
Mhm.
I kind of lead this team. And it was so funny because I was so surprised that there are so many boys who want to participate in that. I was like,
I love it.
wow, like
Yeah, we had a creative writing club at my high school that I was the president of, and most of our members were guys, but not on Instagram. I don't know. Instagram's
yeah,
weird,
it's
man.
crazy. I want you to describe yourself. Like I don't know. I don't want to describe you because I think everybody sees themselves different.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go off what most of my friends say about me. Confident. No one ever says I'm nice. Kind.
What kind?
Straightforward, relatively fashionable, funny, very sarcastic. I'm very sarcastic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much me.
That's cool. You described yourself in 3 words. Like I had this question in season 2 and nobody really knew what to say. And now you just did it without I that's cool.
No,
That's
it's
cool.
it's just because like my friends, I love them to death, but like we'll hang out and they're like, "Oh Mo, you're so sketchy." I'm like, "What does that even mean?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"I don't know, you know about weird things and you're always so confident, you dress so funny like." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't need to hear anymore."
Yeah, that's so crazy because I got told like weeks ago that I sometimes like my outfits look sometimes like a fifth grader, just blindly kind of pulled out clothes. And I'm like, thanks. I'm like,
Like, thank you.
yeah,
I don't know if that was a compliment, but it feels like a compliment.
yes, yes. Or for example, because I have such a, I don't know, I listen to such old music and I'm knowing
Mm-hmm.
an artist and they're all like, oh my gosh, Bonnie, like that's just an artist you can know. Or like a
I
weird, or
love
like
that.
if we have an old teacher and he's like saying something about a 60 artist, and then I'm like, oh gosh, I know them. And then everybody's like, yeah, we knew you know them. I got one question from, gosh, from Xanthia G.
Okay.
Completely no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to shout at her. And she asked, when did you start writing and why?
Oof, complex question. Okay. Well, what do you define as starting writing? Because like if I'm gonna say when did I start writing, I'd say like I don't know, when I was 6 years old,
Yeah.
and we first got like a story assignment in my English class, and I wrote about a time traveling turkey on Thanksgiving. Like that
Yeah.
was first writing.
Yeah. Maybe when you started taking writing professionally, like you were like,
Yeah,
oh yeah.
so I guess around sophomore or junior year in high school, that was when I first started trying to write like novels and short stories and longer form stories. So, yeah, because that was the first year I like met some other people in my school that were like really into writing, like my writing buddies, and we just have like hour-long conversations about I don't know why hero's journey isn't nearly as effective as three-act structure. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's so cool. Like you had writing buddies.
Oh yeah. They're some of my closest friends to this day. I met them maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I talked to one of them like the other day. We met up and went out and did some writing.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. Like I don't have anybody around me. Like the only thing that's why because when I discovered the writers community, I was like, wow, there are people out there who write.
Right. I love
Yeah,
that.
obviously. You write a lot in many different disciplines. Like you write fiction novels, short stories, articles for a magazine, blog posts, and poems. Like what came first?
Okay, so first would be novels.
Hmm.
When I first started writing seriously, I had like one story idea, and I was like, it's gonna be the most amazing novel. I realized maybe 4 months into writing it that it really wasn't that great of an idea. But
Oh,
yeah, novels are the first thing I wrote.
okay. And like where was it like fictionary again? Like was it fictional or was it non-fictional?
It's always oh god. I only started writing like nonfiction type stuff in maybe the last 2 years. So at
Okay.
first it was all fiction. I was hardcore like against nonfiction. Someone asked
Okay.
me like, "Oh, do you ever write nonfiction stuff?" I'd be like offended. Like, how dare you ask if I write nonfiction stuff?
But like the fiction, do you mean like having a fantasy world?
Yeah, so
Okay.
fantasy is my favorite genre. I love world building. I love it a little too much sometimes. I get too into it, and I want to include everything in the storyline. And it's like no one needs to know that stuff. Um, but then like I also really like mystery and like romantic subplots. I don't like romance novels. Controversial opinion, but I'm not a huge fan of romance novels because they're like all romance. And then they get so sappy, and it makes me sad.
But you want to read my books, don't you?
I will read your book. I'm gonna read your book and love it. No,
I'm
I just
like,
mean more like some of my friends in school write romance. And whenever they write romance, I love them to death. But like it's so sappy. Like it is so cliched. And I'm like, come on, guys. This is not how romance works. Which makes it when you like read a really good romantic novel, I'm like, yes, yes, sir. That's amazing. Look at you. Excelling?
I
Words.
don't know. I will be so excited what you will say about Follow Me because I read Follow Me when I was 13 and like I'm now looking at this book and I'm like what for a perspective of romance I had at that time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like the whole like concept of romance evolves so much as we grow older.
Yeah. Yeah. For example, like Follow Me is such a like yeah, we believe in true love and that stuff
Mm-hmm.
because I believed in true love at that time. But like in these years I kind of developed
You
like
say at
less.
that time, do you not believe in true love anymore? You said at
Also,
that time.
yeah, I know because I don't know. I actually, I kind of have still the hope that one day I will meet a good man and then
Mm-hmm.
we start building a family and that stuff and have a dog or something. But I'm not.
I'm a dog.
Yes.
Sorry, go on.
But I don't know, like, last year I was at a point where I was like, I have weddings, I don't want to get married, I don't want to have children. Like, I just want to stay alone with my dog and write novels. Like,
I mean, it's a romance novel between you and your dog. You could do
That's
that.
a good idea. That's a good
Yeah,
idea. No, I don't believe anymore in true love. That's
fair enough. Me neither.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. This I don't know. Maybe true love is also a thing that's just too I don't know, it's too much used in our society today.
Yeah. I think it's like more like the concept of true love. It's like perfect. And like, there's a really good quote from some TV show. It's like, perfection is the antithesis of authenticity. Like, perfect things aren't real. Nothing is
Hmm.
that good.
This quote is good. This
Yeah.
quote is good.
I don't
This
remember
hits
what show
hard.
it's from.
So I hope you will read my books.
Definitely.
Getting off the topic. Who cares? Do you feel like writing, being a writer in so many disciplines is like, do you like being flexible and spontaneous?
I do. Because, I mean, like, I think that writing fiction versus nonfiction now, I didn't believe this before, but I think that each of them has something really important that you can do with them. Like, I continue to believe that fiction is more powerful than nonfiction. But I also think, like, with nonfiction articles, the type of stuff I write for like magazines or my blogs, it's more
Yeah.
relevant to like things that are going on right now and today. They're shorter, people can read them a lot easier. I can publish them more often. Stuff like that. Fiction is a lot more powerful.
Like for example, for me, fictional, like for me, non-fictional is like writing a biography about somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And fictional is for me like my novels I'm writing. Like it's playing in Berlin or something, but the
Mm-hmm.
characters are fictional. Like that's for me fictional. I know that there's like people like also saying like it's world building and that stuff, but actually I don't know how to build a world.
What do you mean?
Like I don't know like if I should I don't know if I would like say no like yeah I experiment now my next book should be a fantasy novel and
Mm-hmm.
for a fantasy novel you need a completely different world building
I
and
mean,
I
not
yeah
necessarily. You could set fantasy novels in the world we have. It just won't be like there's like high fantasy, which is like your Game of Thrones, where they have a whole separate universe. And then
yeah
there's like more, I don't know if it's called low fantasy, but I call it low fantasy, where it's like set in reality, but it's just changed up. So there are like magical aspects.
okay yeah it's
Yeah,
crazy because I see on TikTok many writers who like building worlds and I don't even know how to do that
I love building worlds. I mean, it's so
like
hard though.
like how do
Like
you start even
I think you can see it behind me. I have
yes
this giant billboard that I use
yes
for world building, and I just have it like filled up with stuff. Is like me coming up with what the different like people wear in different regions of whatever world I'm coming up with, and like how I'm gonna divide up this map, and like do the different countries like each other, or are they more
wow
at war?
wow
So it's like, yeah, you have to start basic. Like I always start with maps and like geography and then build it from there and go to like politics and then like everyday people and then like who are the rulers. So
I
you can
have
do
so
it
much
like that.
respect for you that you're doing that. Do you wish sometimes you could just write in one discipline?
No, because I'm afraid of which discipline I'd end up with. Because like if
Mm-hmm.
I went to just writing like articles and like things for the magazine, things that are more I guess, informative and educational, then I completely lose the whole fiction aspect. And I love writing fiction, and I have to
Yeah.
do the characters in my mind don't murder me. Um, I feel like that happens to me all the time. Where like I'll be writing a book, and I feel like I can just like hear them screaming at me through the computer, like, "No, you can't write it that way. I forbid you." Like this is my book. Shut up.
Yes.
There's a funny example, but have you ever seen the TV show Jane the Virgin?
I heard about it. A lot of friends
So the
watched it.
main character is a writer, and every now and then in the scenes, they have like this thing where Jane will be sitting there writing, and just like some personification of a character will be standing next to her, just being like, "You can't just make me an assassin. That's not how it works." And I love it.
Yeah, did you watch the movie about this? about this daughter and father who live on an island, and then the father kind of travels away. Like it's just this island, and there are just the daughter and the father living there. Like the father is a scientist or something. And then the father
Hmm.
kind of leaves the island for a project, but he doesn't come back in the time he said he's coming back. So the girl is wondering, and she's reading a lot of fantasy books about a superhero. So she writes them the author, and the author is coming then. And the author has she's writing only this book, like it's a book series, and she takes this character with her, like she thinks it's a real person. And I don't know,
Hmm.
maybe I watched this movie too many times, but it is in that way sometimes for me.
I've never heard of that. I get what you're saying, but I've never heard of that movie. You have to text
Okay,
me the name of it later.
yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, it's definitely like that. Sometimes
Yeah.
I don't know, like when I was younger, like basically every book starts because I don't know, like I'm dancing a lot, and like there is my room where I can just
Hmm.
escape and hear music, listen to music in a dark room and just fantasizing everything. And then I'm sitting in there, and actually there my the story of a novel always starts.
Hmm.
Like I'm always the main character, the girl in that scene, and then the story
Nice.
starts. So that's why like
Cool.
these characters are like real person for me, because I'm like, if I'm going into this room, they will be there. Like it's
Uh-huh.
crazy. It sounds weird.
Definitely. I mean,
I'm a
like
weirdo.
in most of the characters in like the novels I've written, they're partially based off of people I know in my real life or things that have happened to me. Because it
Yeah.
just makes it more relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
feel more real.
Yes, that's true. You also said that you write poems. I mean, I should have read a poem on your website, but I haven't. I'm so sorry. But I believe you're great at
Okay.
writing poems. And I know from my own experiences, like I'm writing poems as well. I think I told you that. Did I
Hmm.
tell you that? Yeah. So
I
I
think
read
so.
yeah. I read poems as well. And from my own experiences, I'm like writing poems is a completely different world than writing novels. How do you feel
Definitely.
about that?
So I only got into poetry like very recently, like a few months recently, because I started in a new creative writing class. Funny story, when I signed up for the class, I didn't know that there would be a poetry unit. I didn't like poetry. I thought I was bad at it, but we've been doing our poetry unit. So I've been forced to like read all these poems and like write more poetry, and I find myself really liking it. Poetry is like you said, it's completely different from writing novels.
Yeah.
It's so much more personal and like so much more about emotion than like description of like the moment. Like there's description in poetry,
Yeah.
but it doesn't always make sense. It's like very layered. I
Yeah.
don't know how to describe it well, but like
Yeah,
it's different
it's
from like a novel where you have to narrate everything to make sure that the audience follows where you're taking your characters and like who the evil villain is.
yeah.
It's meant to be confusing almost.
Yeah, I have the feeling like poems are like the popular songs. And that's why, because when Driver's License kind of hit number one, everybody was like, oh, yeah, because Driver's License is a completely different lyric structure. Like these lyrics are like
Mm-hmm.
telling a story. And then most of the songs we
Yeah.
know today are like not telling a story, like they telling us the emotions of the songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
I
I
really like poetry that like tells a story sort of like it's layered in there as like this story along with all these descriptions that trigger different emotions. I think it's so cool to follow because like
yeah.
you can see the transgression from place to place.
Yeah. Yeah. Or for example, if I'm writing poems, I'm like not writing one poem, like then I'm writing like 10 or something. And I really like that these 10
Mhm.
make sense only together. Like it's just a developing
Yeah,
of yeah, of thoughts in that moment. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's why poetry is harder to write for me because it's so personal and like I have to be honest about it. It's like maybe I don't want to talk about my emotions. Maybe I prefer to keep it to myself.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I actually planned on releasing a poetry book this year.
That's great. That's really
but
cool. Oh, no.
it was too personal for me to put out.
Yeah, same. I mean, I was writing this poem like maybe a week ago for my creative writing class, and I was like, this is getting too personal. So I cut it off early and I took it to class for critique. And they were like, you cut, it seems like the poem ends too quickly. And I'm like, oh, they saw right through me.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I believe I'll publish these poems one day. Or for example, like on Valentine's Day, it's crazy, but on Valentine's Day, I wrote an entire essay about getting over a crush, like on Valentine's Day.
Oh.
And it's so crazy because I try to not do it personally because like it's kind of like structured like a letter. It's like dear crush, like it's not like I
Oh,
started
that's
it off
adorable.
not personal, and then
Mm-hmm.
it kind of developed into personal things, and then I realized this, and I was like, okay, now we should like come to an end and let it seem like it's not that personal. Yeah, but I think if you're writing novels, you kind of have like you can hide your own emotions. Like if you have a bad day, you can hide it
Mm-hmm.
behind your character.
Yeah.
Like you can still say like
Like,
that's the character.
yeah, especially like, I don't know about you, I write in third person. So it's not like I'm ever saying like I did something. It's no, no, they did this.
Yeah.
I'm just the author.
Yeah, it's funny because I started writing a lot of novels that were in the first person, but
Mm-hmm.
I never finished them. And I probably won't
Yeah.
finish them. But I started, no, no, no. Oh yeah, I started one short novel. I think it's gonna be a short novel, and I don't know when I will finish it. But this
Mm-hmm.
one is like written like in a diary form. So this is in the first person. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it interesting writing in first person. And I think you can still hide behind your character if you're writing in first person.
Definitely. I could never write in first person. I always end up making the most convoluted, complex storylines. And like I write from all these different perspectives. Like there's two storylines happening at the same time. And that's why I've never finished a novel. I always start them and they get so crazy. And I'm like, wait a minute. We need to back up and replot because this isn't making sense.
But like, are you a plotter or a pantser?
I'd say I'm a plantster, like a little bit of both. I always go in with a very strict plan, and then things happen, and my plan gets messed up. And then I end
Yeah.
up halfway through the novel not sticking to plan, and now the plot doesn't make sense.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. And what you said about like if you're starting a novel and then it's going so crazy and you kind of replotting it. That happened
Yeah.
to me while writing Follow Me because Follow Me,
Mm-hmm.
I was writing like because the one who translated it, um, Isabel, who translated it into English, um,
Mm-hmm.
she read that while translating it basically. Obviously, she had to read it, and she was like saying, she was really sad because at the beginning it's like so detailed and like every day, and then at the end I skipped like 1 month, and she said like then she just didn't like it. She was like so sad that I stopped there. But that was because
Mm-hmm.
the same situation as you explained it happened to me. Like I was like thinking, oh gosh, this gets so messed up. Like I don't know what to write anymore. Like, oh my gosh, I have to replot it. And I just finished it then. I could just
Yeah.
add like four more
Fair
scenes and
enough,
we're like,
honestly.
I
What always
finished it
happens
here.
to me is I'll get to like the smack middle of the book and then I'll realize that all of the like split second changes I made in the beginning have now completely changed how the ending will turn out and now I don't have an ending because my ending won't make sense anymore. So,
Yeah,
yep.
I feel you, but I truly believe you will finish a novel soon.
Thank you. I believe too. It'll take some time, but I'll get there.
You will get there. And my second novel, I forgot what to say. Yeah, so basically, because I was like saying I want to release it this year, like still
Mm-hmm.
this year, at the end. So I was like saying, like I don't know, but like I believe if I wouldn't have a deadline for this book, I would not finish it so fastly,
Definitely.
quickly. Yeah, and I don't
I
even
mean,
have it.
that's become my issue with like plotting and like figuring out the novel that I'm working on now is that like every other writing thing I have to do in just like regular schoolwork, I'm a bio major, the work is endless. It's all on deadline, so I just keep pushing plotting off because that's like not something I really need to do immediately.
Yeah, I saw the story template you filled in your story. Well, I tagged you in it about your work in
Yes.
process. Yes.
Uh-huh.
And you know what? That made me so curious to know about your work in progress that I was like, that I noted down a question that's what is your current work in progress about?
Whew, okay. See, well, this is where we go back to I always write really complex storylines. The current work in progress is I'm writing about like it's set in a fantasy world where there's like this really big war going on between this one country that's really against these other countries to the west. They're like very magic intensive, and this one's like not. The main character lives in a country that is at war. She's trying to escape because any magician found in that country is immediately forced to work for the military. Yeah, it's not good. So they find out, she and a bunch of other people that she becomes fast friends with, they find out that they're planning an invasion against like the one big country that's managed to stay out of this giant war. And if they manage that invasion, they'll have an army large enough to conquer the entire world. They're like, so we got to go warn them that that's happening. And that's pretty much the plot of the novel, is them escaping and traveling to warn the king and queen of the only neutral country left that like invasion is imminent, so they can stop an all-out war.
Wow.
Yeah,
I want
it's
to
more
read
complex,
this.
but that's the Spark Notes version.
I love this. I want to read this.
Thank you.
That sounds super funny. Funny. Now it doesn't sound funny, but like it sounds a lot of fun to read. That's what I want to
Yeah.
say. What gave you the inspiration to start this novel?
So it's actually based off of the novel that I was writing before. Last year I was working on this novel called Legends Never Die. It was a good idea, but like the way I planned it out, it had a lot of like loopholes, plot holes, and problems. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna scrap that and start this new one. I took all the parts I liked out of that and like weaved an entirely different storyline in, and that's how I got the one I'm working on now.
That sounds so cool and so familiar to me. You know why? So Follow Me, I started editing Follow Me and kind of rewriting scenes. And then I was like, you know what? I
Mm-hmm.
just publish it however it is. But I really like this one scene I wrote for Follow Me that didn't make the cut.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started this scene, another novel that I'm writing also currently, but I will like I kind of
Yep.
I don't know, I just kind of push it behind me. Like I don't want to write that anymore at the moment. Like it's really
Mm-hmm.
good and I'm so far in this novel, but I don't want to write it. But like that's that's just so familiar to me because because like from
Yeah.
Follow Me, from an edited scene, the new novel started. That's pretty cool.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Definitely. I feel
legends
like
never
people are
die.
like, yeah, that was the.
Legends never die.
I
I
thought it was
love that.
funny because like your podcast is called Bonnie's Legends, and the last book I wrote was called Legends Never Die.
I appreciate this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like people think writers have all these crazy ideas. Like, how do they come up with it? And it's like, no, no, no. Listen, we have one idea, and then that idea goes somewhere else, and then we start from there, and then we have another idea based off that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything is a progression.
Yeah. That's true. Or do you like, I don't know, sometimes I have a lot, like, I don't know, but I have to admit, I have a lot of book ideas. Like,
Mm-hmm.
while writing a work in progress, I'm like having so many book ideas. And then I started
Definitely.
like writing them all down because, it would be useful at some point.
Yeah.
And
One day in the very far off future.
yeah, not that I would have then another book idea, but let's just say I'm totally
Exactly.
without ideas. And yeah, so basically, but it happens mostly that I take then these ideas and put them then into my work in progress.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I get that. I do the same thing with the book ideas. I have a document in one of my like Google Docs or something where it's like ideas and pitches, and I'm pretty sure it's like 17 pages now of just ideas that I'd never gotten around to.
Wow. 77 pages?
Yes.
That's a lot.
And some of them are old ideas that I won't write because like now that I think back on it, it wasn't that good of an idea. But like a lot of them I'm like, I'll get to you one day. It'll happen.
Or like, well, how do you write down your book ideas? Do you write them down with every detail or just notes?
No, so there's like this thing I've found on the internet, the snowflake method of like writing a novel, where it's like, oh, sit down and write a 1-sentence pitch of your novel. Don't include like character names, just like what's going on in the story. So I do that, and then I do like a very short summary, like what would be on the back of the book if it was ever written. And then that's what I include for the idea.
That sounds cool. Because I was so used to like just write down like a setting or something. And then or I was just, I don't know, but I remember when I was 11 or something, I wrote down a title for a book on a piece of paper. And we're like, yeah, if I see this title, I know what the story is about. And then like 3 years afterwards, I found this paper. I'm like, what the heck is that? Is this a title? Like, what should be the story plot? I think it was called something about like 4 men on a table or something.
I love that. No, half the time I come up with an idea, I don't have a title yet. So I'll just be like, unnamed future project. Here's a summary.
Yeah, that's pretty much like me. But the current work in progress, because I write on Google Docs as well. I wanted to start like the Scrivener.
I
wanted to start with this one, but then I was too lazy to kind of download it. So I just started writing a Google Docs, and Google Docs is like they're still standing like untitled document. And when you then type, then you like clicking on it, there's the first 3 words of your document, right?
Yeah.
So what happened with my current work in progress, I wanted to save it but didn't have a name. Then I clicked on it, and then it said the 3 words. I was like, bang, like this is my title. This should be my title. And that's how actually the title came up.
That's
and I don't want to change it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, if it works.
Yeah, it's for example like do you listen to a lot of 50s music?
No.
No, my nerd thing is coming out. Okay, anyways, the 50s artists always called their songs like today's songs are like titled of something from the chorus, right? Mostly.
Yeah, it's usually like the main line that repeats.
Yeah, exactly. And 50s artists, like 50s songs, are always starting with the first, sometimes it's the first sentence, like the whole sentence, like the first line is the title of the song, or it's just the first 3 words. Like in the 50s, it was just like that. And I really like the idea that people are like buying then my current work in progress, and then they start reading it, and it's the first 3 words. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm reading this book.
Credits.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So you said you haven't really like published a novel yet.
No.
Because you haven't finished one.
I have not. So I finished the last novel I was working on. I finished Legends Never Die. But I ran into the same issue while I was finishing it that I always run into, is that I made the plot too complex, and then I changed up too many parts of it in the beginning. So by the time I got to the end, it wasn't like, it didn't make a lot of sense.
Okay.
Yeah, like it didn't have a very good story flow. So I finished it, but if I published it, people would have read it and been like, okay, I get it, but I also don't get it.
But maybe like, did somebody read over it? Like a strange person?
Yeah, I had some of my friends read it, not the entire thing, because it was
stranger.
Really
I'm sorry, not a strange person, a stranger.
Strange person. No, I didn't have anyone I didn't know read it. I just had like some of my friends read parts of it as I was working on it, but no one read the entire thing. It was not coherent.
Yeah, because I don't know, but the follow me, I thought the same. And then my mom, because I told you, I read out everything I wrote. So
Hmm.
basically, my mom knew the story, and I was just like, "That doesn't make sense." She was like, "Of course that makes sense." Like she read it during the time I wrote it. So
Uh-huh.
yeah. So she was like, "That makes sense," and like she was really the person who was like, "Just put it out." I was like,
Uh-huh.
"Okay." Like I think if she wouldn't exist, I wouldn't have published Follow Me. Like,
Mm,
thanks,
that's a good
mom.
point. Yeah,
So yeah, but if but you want to get published in the future.
of course.
I think that's the
Yeah.
dream of every writer.
Yeah.
Like, why do we
It's like,
write
oh my
then?
God. My mom went to Costco one day. I love her to death. And she came back and she was like, "Hey, I was at Costco and I was looking at that. They have this big table where they keep all these books that like you can buy at Costco because they try to trick you into buying things you didn't go there
Yeah.
for." And she's just like, "Wouldn't it be great if one day you wrote a book and then it was at the Costco table and I could go to Costco and just be like, that's my daughter." I'm like, that's my dream now. I want to get famous enough to have a book that you sell at Costco.
Oh yes. Oh yes, I feel you.
But
For
like just
example,
that whole concept of like, you go to a bookstore and you see your name on the spine of one of the books.
yeah.
It's like, hey,
Yeah,
that's not.
or now the follow me, like my goal, like I don't know. This morning I said to my mom, like I want to send a message to somebody that follows me. Like she's a legend and I hope I can interview her, but like she's such a legend for me and like she means like she's such an inspiration for me and such an idol. And like she has huge like her flat in New York is like it's really tall. How you saying? Tall, high?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
Hi. I don't know.
high walls, yeah.
Something like that.
And she
Okay.
has on one wall she has a huge uh oh gosh, bookshelf, like a huge
Uh-huh.
bookshelf. And I'm like saying, my like if my book makes it to this bookshelf, I've made it.
Yeah.
Like I've made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where you're like, yeah, if a book with my name on it ever ends up at this location, that's it. I can die right there. I'll be
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah. Or for example, if this name, like Bonnie Orbison is always it's not my real name, like it's my pet name. And
Mhm.
I don't know, but I got bullied 2 years in school and then I changed school. That's when I changed my name. And I was like thinking,
Mhm.
like I always wanted to write books, and because the people who bullied me said like you will never write books somebody will read. And I always wondered that one day they will buy a book of Bonnie Orbison and then recognize that it's me. You know what I mean? Like that was always like my
I feel
goal.
like that is also part of every author's dream. I got bullied a lot in elementary school, not anymore. People think I'm scary now. I love it. Um, but like the concept that like one day I'm gonna become like an amazing writer and I'm gonna be out there and someone's gonna go and pick up my book and be like, hey, that's that girl I went to high school with. And I'd be like, yeah, who's laughing now? All you people
Yes.
that said we were nerds. Hmm.
Yes. Yes, so like, oh, there she's again writing, like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Like, I've made it.
You'll show them.
Yeah. But I think every artist has this, like, I show you.
Yeah.
Like, this is what drives us, isn't it?
Definitely.
It kind of sounds sad because sometimes you're like, these people aren't even worth it, you know? But like,
Uh-huh.
it keeps you,
I don't
yeah, it
know. I
keeps
think
you.
it's more for me. It's like I get to know that I did all this amazing stuff despite what you believed. Not you, but you
Yes.
know what I mean.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
So, if you ever want to be published, do you want to get like traditionally published or like self-publishing?
So, like, of course, the dream is like, okay, I'd want to be traditionally published, go through some big publishing company like, I don't know, Simon and Schuster or something. But honestly, it makes more sense to self-publish, especially when you're starting out as a writer. So I'd probably end up self-publishing.
Yeah, yeah. Same
Traditional
happened.
publishing is kind of a scam now. it's so expensive.
Yeah, I always like my brother always told me I should self-publish, and I was like always saying like, no, I don't want to. I don't know. I don't want to do that.
It's a lot of
Probably I
work.
was too young to do that actually,
Mhm.
because of like 14, you don't have any like the skills to
Yeah.
do that. And so I kind of started everything getting traditionally published, and I had
Hmm.
3 publishers, and one publisher already sent me a contract to sign, but I read that contract, and since then I'm self-publishing.
Mm.
Like since this contract I'm like self-publishing, like,
Yep.
dude, don't come
I
even
mean,
closer to
like,
me.
the only real good thing I'd say about traditional publishing is that if you're like a name, like if you have an audience already, then you're
Hmm.
more likely to get more copies. They handle marketing, and you have like the connections through the publisher to get your work out there. But
Yeah.
like, it's so expensive, and they have so much control over your manuscript.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Or you like have a deadline where I have finished the
definitely.
book, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, sorry
Hmm.
for cursing, but like it's really like that. Like you're like, what the
I
heck?
mean, that's the truth. It's like
Yeah.
that's not how the the artistic process works. You can't just like demand that it be done already.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Yes, that's true. And on this contract, like the last sentence was like, yeah, this contract will last 3 years. I was
Mhm.
like I was 14 at that moment, and I was like no 15. It was last year. It was around this time I read the
Uh-huh.
contract, and we're like, if 18, like I don't know what I want to do with 18. Like I don't know if
Uh-huh.
I want to still want to work with you. Like or these publishers try to get you on board, like saying like, yeah, your book could be could become a movie.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know? And
no.
you're sitting
Like
there and you're
in
like, I
all
just want to publish my
honesty,
book.
yeah,
Like,
in all honesty, like traditional publishers are not going to order that many copies of like your book. They're not going to get it out there as much if they don't have like guaranteed sales associated with your name,
yeah, yeah,
because that's how
that's
they make.
true. That's true.